Hi, welcome to Wednesday Wisdom. My name is Sera Doğramacı and I am IHA's Goaltender Development Manager. Today with me, I have John Greene, who is the goalie coordinator of ice hockey in the Northern Territory. Welcome, John.
Hey, Sarah, how are you?
Oh, awesome. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate, good.
Excellent. All right, hockey background. How did it start for you?
For me, this is going to be the most random thing you've ever heard. So late 90s, I mean, we're talking 97, 98, that era.
Mm-hmm.
I was out street skating, so, the old rollerblades, grinding rails, ledges, jumping off things.
What city were you in? Where were you?
In Darwin.
Oh, okay.
All right. One of my friends from school, who was also a skater, was driving past, literally pulls up, goes, "Oi, Greenie, what are you doing now?" I said, "Nothing, mate." He goes, "We'll jump in. We've got a hockey game. Our goalie's just pulled out."
Okay, so I never even realized that Darwin even had inline hockey going on back then.
Yes. So inline hockey was huge in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Huge. Like the rink here used to have 3 adult men's divisions, all running sort of 6, 7 teams a division.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, so you went and played hockey straight as a goalie?
Yeah.
With
men's A.
No sort
Top
of idea
level.
of what you're doing? Like just here, go
None at all. So quite literally, I got this is going to test your age, and there's going to be a few viewers that'll remember them. The old Cooper's street hockey pads.
Oh, yes.
I had a set of them. I had the old red catcher and blocker. I had a junior's chest guard, which came to my elbows. And that was it.
Oh, God. What was
and
your
they
helmet
dropped me.
like?
It was a player's helmet.
Nice. Yeah.
And that was it. That was straight into top level hockey in the Northern Territory.
Okay, so then you decided to stick with it.
Yep, loved it. Played the first game, got through it, didn't get too hurt. Got invited back, which was always a nice thing.
Right.
And then went and actually did a training session to try and work out what it was I was doing.
Okay, so then what happened? What did you end up playing? Did you move around? When did you transition to ice?
So we played inline in Darwin until about 2007.
Yeah, okay.
And they knocked the rink down to build units.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So we pretty much the last games we played up here, official games we played in the Masters games in Alice Springs. We actually played against all the Americans from Pine Gap.
There you go. Interesting. Okay, so is that when you transitioned to ice, or what happened?
No, then I went on to a hockey hiatus because I had nowhere to play.
Yeah.
And 2015, I moved to Canberra. I got posted to Canberra.
Okay.
So I literally drove into Canberra on the Monday, bought gear between then and Thursday, had my first skate and played drop-in Thursday night, Canberra hockey.
So you had never been on the ice before until then?
I had ice skated once.
Okay, so in the goalie gear and with the skating, how different was that in the transition?
So I didn't play goalie for a little bit when I got onto the ice. Okay. So I played drop-in.
Yep.
Got introduced to Thursday night drop-in by Andrew Brunt.
Mm-hmm.
So that was gentle, as you can assume.
Oh, of course.
the new guy, yeah. And then I played in D grade, just Canberra, straight into the league.
Okay.
Just as a skater. I managed to play probably half a season or so.
Yep.
And then the goalie couldn't play one game. So I jumped and padded up and jumped in the net.
Oh, gosh, that's so cool. Okay, so in that little space of time, what are some of the cool things you've done?
So since then, so that's only, 5 years?
Yeah.
So 2016, I joined the Australia Heat, which is a combined police, fire, emergency services team.
Oh, nice. Was that in the early stages? Because that hasn't really been around for long, has it?
No. So they they actually came together sort of around 2015, 14,
Right.
15. Then they folded for a little while and then they started again.
Okay.
But it hasn't really been too organised until sort of the last 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Like we've really gotten our stuff squared away since then and gotten organised, getting a consistent team together now.
Mm-hmm.
So the big problem that we have is we have players from all around the country.
Yeah.
So
how's that for training?
training doesn't happen. It is quite literally, we'll go to a tournament, like say Tigers in Adelaide,
Mm-hmm.
and the guys will have a meet and greet the day before the first game. And quite often we'll have guys who have never met
Wow.
showing up and playing. So it makes it really difficult. But the good thing is that now that we're getting organised, we're getting a lot more of a consistent group of guys.
Okay.
So we're getting probably about 5 to 10 guys that are consistently at every major event, every major tournament.
Awesome. All right. So talk about some of the tournaments. Where have you been? What have you done? What have you won?
All right. So first real intro was we had a couple of games in Canberra against the Defence Force.
Okay, cool.
That was sort of where we first got our little rivalry going with Dave Pennell and his guys.
Yeah.
And I can say that because me and Dave are mates, for those that don't know.
Of course.
We'll go back a while. So we've had this love-hate relationship since then. We love playing against each other, and there's always a bit of fun when we get on the ice against each other. Two teams full of alpha personalities. What could go wrong? Right. So we played Tigers a couple of times. We won 2018, I think it was.
Nice.
19. It's correction. 2019.
Okay.
So it was last year.
Last year.
Yeah, last year.
Everyone's losing track.
Yeah. So we won our first one there last year in C-Dib. So it wasn't a whole lot to be super proud of, but it was good for the guys. Like we had a few really good players there. We also had a few guys that are at that lower level too.
Okay.
2017 for me was probably a big one. We went to Los Angeles.
Nice.
We played in the World Police and Fire Games over there.
So that's a thing. That's cool.
It is.
Okay. So what's the competition like? Is it actually everyone from around the world, or what's the setup?
Yeah. So the World Police and Fire Games is second only to the Summer Olympics as far as events and competitors.
Okay, so when you go, it's not just here's a hockey tournament, it's everything.
Yeah. So they do everything. They do like legitimate sports, but they also do stupid pub sports like darts and stuff like that.
They still count.
Yeah. But yeah, they have proper professional athletes. One of the first games we played against over there in novice division had a guy that had played 200 plus NHL games.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
He just skated circles around everybody.
I bet he did.
And then, especially against a bunch of Aussies. But we cheat. We had our imports as well. So, we got a couple of lads that, like Mike Gaynor from South Australia and a few of the other lads are quite high level players.
Yeah, okay.
And we pinch a couple of the Alaskans that Mike knows. So they're honorary Australians.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, we'll kind of take anyone, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Any awards or like any sort of championships or anything cool along the way?
So 2017, we won our first game. So that in LA, we won their first international game.
Nice.
And then last year we went to China for the World Games again, and we silver medaled.
Oh, nice.
So first game off was against a Ukrainian team who are a feeder team for Dynamo.
Yeah.
For those that know the KHL.
Yeah.
Yeah. So novice team was the feeders for the Dynamo. Yep.
I have no words for that except that's pretty cool. What an experience.
It was good. Like honestly, it was really good. Except I hurt my knee quite badly in that first game. To the point where I had to sit out the next one. So I missed the game against the Americans, which was like the North America. No, they were the Americans, Northern America.
Yeah. Okay.
And they pretty much went through the pool rounds undefeated. Like, they beat everyone. They beat the Canadians. They obviously spanked us. We had to borrow a goalie because we only travelled with me.
Yeah, okay.
So we borrowed a backup goalie. It was actually their backup goalie. Because it was just the pool rounds.
Yeah.
To get the seedings. So they spanked us, then they beat the Canadians. And so we went into the medal round, or the playoff rounds was the old 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. So we got the Americans in that, and we beat them.
Wow. That's cool.
So the Aussies, who hadn't won a game, against the Yanks, who hadn't lost one, and we beat them.
Well, nicely done. And then who did you get silver to? Who won the gold?
The Canadians. So the Canadians then spanked the Ukrainians. And it went to the wire. It was a 4-all game with less than 2 minutes on the clock. And I just got stood up with a 2-0.
It just sounds like it's just been kind of like a highlight of your goalie career. Like, it's such a cool experience. I think, there's so many people that, well, they have the opportunity to go to world championships and, double IHF tournaments and this and that, but it's like what you've done is the highlight for you.
It's been phenomenal. It has been amazing. I honestly wish I'd started playing hockey 20 years ago.
Well, it's never too late. I'm glad you've gotten into it when you have.
Yeah. Hopefully the body can hold up for another 10 years or so. And
it's kind of what we're all hoping for. Okay, so I know you're doing a bit more coaching these days.
Yes.
How did you even get involved in that?
Okay, so while I was in Canberra, I was trying to give back a bit more. A big role of what I was doing with my work in Canberra was I was teaching.
Nice.
So
okay.
I was teaching down there, and I enjoyed doing it. Mm-hmm. And I love hockey. I might not be great at it, but I love it.
You got the passion. That's what we need.
And you know what? I figure that makes up for my lack of ability. So I started coaching when I was there. I was coaching the D grade, so the entry-level men's team. I had one of theirs. And then I started coaching a couple of the women's teams as well.
Oh, okay.
So I think I coached a couple of your squad mates with
Island.
Dilly.
Oh, Dilly. Okay, yeah.
And Emily Brunt.
Ebony, yep.
Ebony, sorry, Emily. My mum will kill me. And a few of the other girls that have gone up and played at least 1 or 2 games for Australia. So
okay.
It was just a big driver for me. I may not have had a big part to play in that, but I like to think I had a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, our overall journey is made up from the little pieces along the way and everyone we've interacted with, right? It's never really a credit to the one person. So you've definitely contributed to all their successes too.
Even if it's just being that guy on the bench that's always got a laugh.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? When I was younger, I took sport a lot more seriously. As I've gotten older, I've kind of tried to dial it back a little bit. And now for me, it's more about enjoying it.
Oh, it has to be. That's got to be the priority. If it's not fun, what's the point, right?
That's right. And that's what I've really tried to drive into the people that I've been coaching as well, is you've got to be having fun.
Yeah, 100%.
If you're not enjoying being here, you're not going to have any longevity out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then how's the sport going to grow, right?
Well, that's it.
So, okay, I'm back in Darwin now.
Yes. So I posted back here a couple of years ago.
Okay. So was the rink there when you moved back?
It had been here for about 6 months. So It was still quite new.
All right. Well, talk us through the setup. I've never been there, so I have no idea what it's like.
All right. I can't think of the exact dimensions off the top of my head, but the length of our ice is the width of a standard ice rink.
Ooh, tiny little shoebox.
Yes.
Nice.
So we play 3-on-3, halfway offside.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's the conditions like in such a, I guess, warm, humid climate, I suppose? Is the rink still good? Do you have any issues with maintaining the ice?
So the ice actually is quite good. Like, it doesn't melt too badly up here. They've done quite a good job with the insulating and the pipes and everything like that. So
Okay.
the ice is quite hard.
Okay.
But yeah, very, very, very rarely do you get any condensation or puddles on the ice. So having said that, sorry, go.
I was just going to say, what's the Zamboni situation there?
Right. So our Zamboni, we've just got one.
Okay.
And we actually have a proper, legitimate little baby Zamboni.
Okay.
Probably similar to the one that Adelaide uses for their baby ice.
Yeah, okay.
However, it's sort of on and off. They've had some dramas with the machine. There's been a few issues getting it running properly, stuff like that. So they don't use it. So our fallback is a golf buggy with a scraper blade behind it.
Yep.
So if the rink owner is getting the ice prepped before the first game on a Monday night, he'll run around with that. And then in between games, you get 3 or 4 players out there with the old snow plows, or the old snow shovels.
Wow.
And they basically scrape the rink.
So then does it get hosed down at all?
No, not that I've seen.
What's that like to play on or to train on then?
If you get first game, it's all right.
If you get the last game of the night, is it like...
Yeah. Second game, as a goalie, you're almost playing inline. Like, it's very hard to slide. It gets very choppy,
Wow.
very rough.
All right. So what's the hockey community like up there? What kind of, I guess, what have you got? Juniors, seniors, everything in between?
All right. So at the moment, they're running, I think there's 3 different age divisions for the juniors.
Okay.
So for the little kids through to your under 18s, under 17s.
Yep.
So they run 3 divisions, no separation between the boys and the girls.
Well, you wouldn't have the numbers to do that, right? To have like a separate women's league, or do you?
I think they're running close to 40 or 50 kids between the 3 divisions.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So it's actually it's growing. It's getting quite good.
Okay.
And a few of the kids are showing a lot of real talent.
Nice.
Especially given the fact they've only got the little baby rink to learn on. It's pretty much their entire career is small area games. Like, their in-close work is amazing.
Then, aren't they, right?
Yeah. As a goalie, it gives you some really interesting perspectives when you think that halfway offside and no icing means that guys can literally shoot from anywhere on the ice.
Yeah. You always got to be alert.
And we do have some really, really high-tier guys. We've got 2 ex-AHL players. We've got Riley. He's played East Coast League. I'm pretty sure he played for a couple of games for the Bears.
AJ national team. He's
Yeah. Thankfully, he's on my team at the moment. But the last few years, I've been playing against him.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of Canadian guys. One of them's like a men's A rec level, so he's quite highly skilled as well.
So are those guys, I'm guessing they've landed in Darwin because of work. Are they the ones that are kind of leading the coaching?
So the head coach we've got up here is a guy called Chris Roach.
I know that name.
He played for Perth Thunder for a couple of seasons. He played for the Canberra Knights.
Okay.
As an import. So he's been around the Australian hockey since the Knights days. So I think he was with them up until they folded.
Yeah, okay.
And then he went over to Perth and he played a couple of seasons with the Thunder, I believe.
Okay. And now he's up there and he's doing
hockey.
That's cool.
So he's living in Darwin. I play against him now. So he's doing a lot of the coaching. We've also got another guy, Leith. He hasn't really been involved in hockey in Australia, but he's out of Canada.
Okay.
So he's Canadian born and raised.
Nice.
So he does he has a bit to do with the coaching as well.
Okay.
So, but
So,
I'd say probably Chris would be the main driver with it.
well, I mean, at least you've got people that have played at the high levels and have some sort of background that they can teach and pass on that knowledge, which is great for the development of the community there.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice. Well, okay. So what are some of the challenges that you have up there? Do you have, aside from the little shoebox, do you have enough resources? Where do people get their equipment from? What's the overall situation?
So the big problem that we have here is if you get experienced hockey guys, and to give you an idea, I sort of count myself as one of them. So if you've got half an idea, I'll call you experienced, because that's about my level. You pretty much get online, work out what it is you want.
Okay.
I try to support the local rink in that I'll find what I want, and then I'll go to him.
Yeah.
And I'll say, hey, Jeff, look, this is what I want to get. Skaters have got it. You want to order it in, I'll buy it off you.
Yeah, okay.
Or, we'll go through Ross or down at Ice HQ.
Yeah, so, okay. So everyone
Puck Handlers,
like, around the country.
Yeah. It's trying to get anything from international to Darwin is extremely difficult.
Oh, I bet.
Because everything comes via Sydney or Melbourne.
Yeah.
So whatever your freight time is from, say, the US to Sydney, then double it to then get it from there to Darwin. It's not unusual for stuff to hit Sydney in 2 days, and then take 3 weeks to get to Darwin.
Yeah, no kidding. Have you had anything donated?
I believe in the early stages, so just before, I think, or just after I got here, Jeff, the rink owner, had JFK and the NSA crew came up.
Oh, okay.
And I'm pretty sure JFK did a gear drive before he came up.
Oh, nice. Well, that surely would have helped out.
Yeah. So that gets a lot of the new guys in the door. It just gets them kitted for at least the first month.
Yeah, and then when they decide they're going to commit or not, then buy your own.
Apart from that, it's just the old hockey community. I buy new gear, my gear gets given to somebody.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's sort of around the country and around the world. Like if you outgrow something, or if it's time to update, then pass on what you don't need anymore, right?
So a lot of the guys here are just, wearing the old mix mash hand-me-downs, but it's enough to get them playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what are you hoping that the future of hockey in Northern Territory looks like?
So earlier in the year, it was last year, it was pre-COVID.
Okay.
Chris, and we've also had one of the ex Canberra Ice, although the junior Brave then, I think they're the Icebergs now.
Okay.
Took a team of the juniors down to Perth.
Oh, cool.
So they went down to Perth. They played a couple of games down there in a tournament over there. And for a few of those guys, for pretty much all of them, it was their first time even physically seeing a full-size rink.
Wow.
How
was their transition playing on that?
It's difficult. Even with the adults, we really noticed it last year.
So much time and space, right? It's like, what do I do?
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. They don't know what to do because they're just so used to getting the puck and offloading it, because you just don't have time to breathe. And it's trying to convince them that they've got seconds.
Yeah.
Get the puck, have a look.
Yeah.
As opposed to just
look up for your options, and
Yeah. And the adults had the same issue. When they've been to the last couple of Tigers tournaments, when they're in a single zone, they do very well. Then the moment they try to stretch out and go the length of the ice, they don't know what
offside?
To do. Yeah.
Right? Wow. Okay.
So with the juniors, they're coming good. There's a couple there, I think, with the right exposure, I think could have the skills to step up at least into the junior leagues.
Nice.
There was a couple of girls.
I'm just about to get a visitor.
Yeah,
this is a first. Hi. it's COVID life, it's parenting life, right? And kids sick at home, but off he goes waddling along. Please continue.
And there's a couple of girls that are again in the same situation. You and I have spoke a number of times about one in particular.
Yeah.
We're still chasing that boat. We'll see. Hopefully I can convince both her and hopefully Dad in the near future to think a bit harder, because I honestly think she's got a very good skill set.
Yeah, and I imagine, it's not a cheap sport to begin with anyway, but being so remote, being in Darwin, trying to add on, okay, go to these tournaments, go and play in these cities, that's just going to add extra expenses that may just not be realistic for people, right?
It's nearly impossible. I mean, we don't have sponsors, we don't have anything. I think the guys have just managed to get a government grant the other day.
Okay.
I think we're going to be getting some of those goalie kits that you and I were talking about.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
So once that's all squared away, hopefully we can get them sorted.
Good.
But as far as travel, everything is self-funded, or the old Bunnings fundraisers,
the barbecues. Yep.
Yeah. But it doesn't go far. When for me to fly from here to, I don't know, Melbourne, for example, we're looking at $500 each way.
Yeah.
Plus accommodation, food, tournament fees. I mean, I don't have to tell you, you know exactly what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Do you have a question to ask? Okay, he's just going to make notes for me. That's all right. We'll continue.
Is that the scribe?
Yeah. Anyway, we can continue.
So the biggest issue there is obviously the cost factor. I mean, it's not just enough to have that drive, but how do you get these kids across the country?
Even so, yes, there's the funding to it as well, but then trying to give them here's what your potential pathway looks like. How are you going to get there? Trying to provide them those opportunities as well, but making it realistic. I know of people that have been, say, like in Townsville, and then when that rink shut, and they still want to pursue the elite path, and they've moved like to Brisbane for it, right? Like the whole family's shifted just to try and provide opportunities, but that's not realistic for everyone.
No, well, it's just not one of those sports in Australia, is it?
Right? You can't 5 minutes down the road or across the street, there's your local rink. It's even for us in Sydney, me being in Sydney, games in Canberra, games in Newcastle, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
So for you to have just the one rink.
Yeah. Well, half a rink.
half a rink. Okay, so for you personally then, what's the future hold for you?
So for me, I've got a couple of months left in Darwin, and then I'm going to be posting back down to Canberra.
Okay.
So heading back down to the cold, back to a bigger rink.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, this brings it into more opportunities. So hopefully we'll see you doing a bit more coaching as well in Canberra.
Hopefully, as soon as I can get there and get myself sorted, I'll be touching base with you and coming up and actually having a face-to-face for the first time.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so if you're leaving Darwin, what's happening? Who's looking after goalies up there?
So it's the problem we have here is it's such a small pool, of able and willing adults, basically. Yeah. Where we go through phases where at one point early last year, we had 8 goalies for a 4-team senior league.
Wow. So what are we at now?
3.
Okay. So retention's an issue.
Yeah. So injuries, guys moving on, stuff like that. 2 of the goalies were injured. One of them, I don't think will play again, which is a shame. Me and him have played against each other since the inline days.
Oh.
He's old school, as bad as he sounds like me, I guess, but unfortunately never had the ability to to learn that transition from inline to ice.
Yeah. Okay.
And as I did as well, first game, he blew his MCL first game, which I did the exact same thing, the same injury, exactly the same thing. Just
I did mine just dropping into a butterfly in a game.
Yep. So try doing that without ever actually being taught or learning it.
Yeah. Oh. So gosh.
Yeah. So the problem is that I basically got a forced rest period where the coaches that I had at the time, I think Don may have even had a little bit to do with that as well, basically just kicked me off the ice. They wouldn't let me play.
Yeah.
Their head kept saying yes, but thankfully I had adult supervision that told me no. Whereas my mate here, unfortunately, he sat out for a few weeks and then got back in and hurt it worse. Then sat out for a season and then played again, and it never fixed. So I think he's basically at the point now where he's just hanging the pads up.
Oh, that's a shame. It's never nice to hear those stories.
Yeah. We do have one young guy though.
Okay,
we got one guy here, hopefully, that I'm going to try and pass over to. I've been trying to do a bit of coaching with him. He definitely has the enthusiasm. The abilities are getting there as well.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of push each other quite hard. His goal is, as he said to me, his goal is always to be better than me. And my goal is to not let him.
Yep.
So I'm hopefully I'll be able to talk to him and I can get him into a more serious aspect of the coaching side of it.
Oh, I hope so. Because there definitely needs to be someone that's advocating for it and just looking after the goalies and again, just giving them the opportunities and some sort of guidance. And I do hope that does work out.
Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully between him and Chris.
Yeah. And we are, we look after things in Australia, like everything in Australia, and Darwin has hockey. There's goalies there. They need the attention too. So access to, the coaching resources and all that sort of thing. And on that same note, Tassie's in the same situation as well. So Todd is our goalie coordinator in Tassie. So very much a similar situation. He couldn't commit to this interview, but I imagine there's so many similar issues down there as well. But again, there's hockey there, which means there's goalies there, which means we need to be looking after them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, now people know who you are. So when you do move back to Canberra, they'll look you up. But I'm sure you're still going to have connections to the Darwin hockey community. And who knows what the future brings? Maybe you will end up back there. Maybe they'll get a bigger rink one day. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I hope they do. But I hope I don't. I think I've done my time in Darwin. I've earned my parole.
That's fair enough. All right, John, thank you so much for your insight. And just, I think a lot of people, well, like me, I've never been to the rink in Darwin, so I don't know what the situation is, but I think it's really important to share these sorts of stories so we can see how we can all be working together and help for the bigger picture of the sport and helping develop goalies all across the country. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
That's good. Thanks for the chat, Sarah.